And welcome back to episode number 65. As Ben just said off the air, it's a Social Security eligible episode.
The
Raise
AARP is calling.
podcast. Yeah, ARP, Social Security eligible. Raise the banner. We're back. Episode number 65. Zach Brewitt, as usual, Benny Ballgame Dearth, and myself, Matt Couture. Let's jump right into it, boys. We got the Boston Red Sox, and about every episode, we end with saying, "Hey, maybe Bregman will be signed by next episode." And this is probably about the seventh episode. I don't know, 20th episode where we've said that, and he's still not signed. What are your thoughts on the whole situation with Bregman? How do you see it playing out? How do you think things are going behind the scenes that we don't really know about, and where do you see him putting up dingers for this coming season?
I mean, I was pretty much thinking they were dead in the water. It wasn't going to happen. Really up until this morning, I was on Twitter, and the Astros GM, I think it was GM, said he kept saying, I don't know if he really meant to. I didn't see like the video of it, but I saw the tweets about it. That he kept referring to Bregman as like former player Bregman, and that he kind of alluded to him not coming back. And then there was another tweet that came out that said like the top suitors are still in play, and he's debating on going higher AAV or lower, whatever it was, years, and the Red Sox are still involved. So that gave me probably false hope. But I'm back in the camp that thinks it's still on the table. Basically up until the newest report that said that they're in again on Arenado. So don't think it's going to happen. Ultimately, I think they're probably going to go more so for like an Arenado type player. I would rather Bregman, but it's hard to believe anything that they're saying or doing when it really feels like it's been, for the most part, another offseason, another time around where, Sam Kennedy
We've been bamboozled.
We've been exactly hoodwinked, run amok, and led astray.
Hoodwink, that's a good one.
It sounds like they're still in on him, whatever in means, however percentage you want to put on that. Do I see them signing Bregman? I still don't.
Ben?
So
I don't know what that one finger was for, but
that was the 1% chance that the Red Sox signed Bregman. He said, Zach said, I don't know what percentage in is, and I went 1.
I thought you were like putting your hand up to like, hey, can I talk?
No, I didn't raise my hand in class. I'm not going to start now. I don't know. I mean, I think it's one of those things with Bregman where, I think the Red Sox are in it because he hasn't signed anywhere. So it's like there's still a chance. I think this is one of those, like, they're in it until they're not. I don't think they're at the table right now, to use a different analogy, whether it's the big kid table, the kids table, or are they sitting down? Are they in the corner? Are they at the middle school dance on the wall, like hoping and praying that somebody doesn't ask them to dance? Or,
it's Alex Bregman in the center of the dance floor, that he's the brave one, and then it's like the 7th grade social where like all the boys are on one side and all the girls on the other side.
Yeah.
He's just begging someone to come dance with him.
Yes. And everyone's like, we got to make sure we leave room for Jesus. Just awkward arm out, like as far away as possible. I don't know. I don't know why. My gut says he ends up in Detroit. That's just kind of my, gun to my head guess. Just because, here we are, the Red Sox still don't want to spend money. It looks like they've at least made him an offer, but clearly it's not enticing enough to leave every other offer out there and come to Boston. And I think they're reluctant, I shouldn't say I think, because I don't know, but I speculate if they're reluctant to offer him a big time deal, knowing that they probably aren't putting him at third. I think if they
Not to cut you off, quick side note, Randall Grichich just signed a 1 year, 5-year deal. 1 year, $5 million deal with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Oh.
All right, well.
I was going to ask you what a 1 year, 5-year deal was.
It's a new thing.
Maybe that's how they can sign Alex Bregman. They'll sign him to a 2 year, 7-year deal, whatever that means. But it's tough because I think that I think in their heart of hearts. And when I say they, I think it's John Henry, right? Like Zach, you brought up Stan Kennedy. Hoodwinked, bamboozled. Wool pulled over our eyes. I think we can confidently say at this point that Sam Kennedy's words don't mean much if John Henry's also not backing that up. John Henry's the one that signs the checks. He's the one that says, yes, go spend my money. And he's been as quiet as can be for what? 6 years?
6 years.
I was gonna say, yeah. I thought you were gonna say all off season, but I was like, I don't think he's talked in the last 6 years.
No, I think the last time we heard him was the probably the 18 World Series. I think the last time I saw him, because they won the World Series in Boston in 13, is when he awkwardly stuck his head out the window of the owner's box, looking around when Tom Warner was saying weird things on the stage. I think that's the last time people saw John Henry, is when he awkwardly stuck his head out of the owner's box 12 years ago.
He was there at Winter Weekend when Chaim Bloom was talking about how he was basically gaslighting the fans. And then Jared Carabas asked, I forget who he was asking, but he was basically saying, why isn't Xander Bogaerts up here? And John Henry looked at his watch as if it's time to go. I've had enough of this FaceTime. I want to get out of here. But yeah, to your point, I think Sam Kennedy, the frustration with Sam Kennedy is he is obviously the mouthpiece for the entire front office. So when he talks, you would assume as a fan, at least I do, that he has talked to John Henry and Craig Breslow and Tom Warner and whoever else is involved with these decisions. And he has the full backing of everybody in that room. And then when he comes out here and says these things, that they're going to back it up. Well, it's become, as you said, 6 years now, where he keeps talking and trying to, rile the fans up as if there's going to be fireworks, as if there's going to be, full throttle. And it never happens. So, I think to your point, he was trying to say that they're still in the conversation for Bregman, whether it was today or yesterday. I got Twitter all in, a tizzy, basically saying, I can't comment on anybody specifically, but if he hasn't signed, then that's a sign that's a reason why. I don't know. Whatever he said. So, it's just the frustration is with Sam Kennedy. Yes, obviously John Henry signs the checks, but you would think that they're a bit more succinct in their decision making to allow Sam Kennedy to make those comments.
Right. That's obviously part of the frustration for me. As for what do I think they're going to do? I think I know the front office believes in Kristen Campbell and Marcelo Meyer, whatever, and Roman Anthony. I know they believe in those guys. And I think in their heart of hearts, if they could have their way, all three of those guys would make the team. And you've got I know he's not left-handed, but you've got a surefire thing in the outfield. You've got, Christian Campbell basically becomes the right-handed bat, and then you can kind of figure out where he goes. And then, Marcelo Meyer's, bench utility guy, maybe, second base, depending on what you do with Campbell. And then you've got three legit prospects that are cost controlled for the next 6 seasons before they even have to worry about free agent contracts. I think that would be an ideal scenario for them. I think they want to win and spend as little money as possible. I don't think they see spending money as the only way you can win baseball games, which is unfortunate. I'm not saying that you have to be the Dodgers and spend upwards of $400 million on your payroll. But they're probably at 1.5 times what the Red Sox have currently put together this year. So it's frustrating that this is where we're at. I'd love them to bring in Bregman. I saw on Fangraphs earlier today that by signing him, the Red Sox playoff chances go up by effectively 11%. Fangraphs has the Red Sox at about a 45% chance to make the playoffs. And adding Bregman puts them at like, let's see, it was 10.8%. So it would have been like 56 point something percent. The numbers weren't even. But he basically moves the needle enough that Fangraphs goes, this team has a more likely chance than not to make the postseason, which is something that they haven't done since 2021 or 21, yeah. Which I believe was that was the ALCS. They lost in 6 to the Astros.
Yep.
But I mean, that's obviously the goal, is getting back to the postseason, and they got to figure out a way to do that.
Yeah, I mean, to go on to the Henry conversation, like, he has pushed this rebuild concept, whether he will say it or not. Everyone kind of has known what he has viewed this team as over the last few years, and it's that it's been rebuilding. Like you said, Ben, the ideal scenario for them is like, they don't sign Bregman and Campbell and Anthony come out and they light it up and the team's good and they don't have to spend the money. But I also do feel like there is a level of pressure on them. Obviously the fan base isn't very happy right now, but it's a matter of whether they care enough to do anything about it. The way I've been viewing the whole Bregman thing is, since day one, I haven't really bet on him coming to Boston, but I follow the crumbs of how it all plays out. I look at the comments that you mentioned, Zach, from the Astros manager today. I look at the fact that Detroit signed Jack Flaherty. Obviously, it's a different position, so you don't know if it really correlates at all, but it was another $20 million a year that they just dished out. So are they going to want to dish out another 30 for Bregman? That, obviously I think plays a little bit of a factor. And then it's obviously just kind of the basis of it, the fact that he hasn't signed yet. There's talk that a lot of the offers he has is lower years, higher AAV. And Toronto might be that only team that's potentially offering 6 years. So when I look at that and I say, okay, I don't think he wants to go to Toronto. I don't think that Houston is very likely at this point. It could certainly obviously change, but based off of what the manager GM was saying, Detroit, maybe. The Mets, I guess in theory, could still be in play. There could be a two that we don't know about it, but I think from the start, and I said this a while ago, I think his preference is Boston. I think he wants to be in Boston. It's just Boston's offer isn't where he wants it to be. So now the question comes, who's going to blink first? And it's entirely possible that, when we're here next week, we're getting close to spring training, hopefully to get settled. But when we're here next week, we're looking at this and saying, wow, Breslow played it right, where he ends up in Boston and it's on a 4-year, 20-80 year AAV, like a reasonable number. And we're happy. I mean, that's, I think, what we all kind of want. But until it happens, I mean, there's going to be a lot of pressure on them. Is the Arenado conversation that came up today, it's John Morosi, and I don't really buy too much into what he says. Is that real? Is that the Bregman sweepstakes coming down to the final stages, and it's the Boston Red Sox saying, hey, John Morosi, let's just tell the world that we're talking to Arenado again. And just to put a little fire under Bregman's ass, that's possible.
You could see that.
But I mean, what's that?
I could see that.
That's
that's an option.
Altogether, like, I've been very consistent with everything I've been saying with the Sox this year. It's, they could not sign Bregman. They could not sign any other significant bat. And I still think the future's bright for this team, just because I believe in the young guys. I have no idea what Ben is doing right now with his hands, but all I see is this. Hold on, I see two thumbs.
Oh, sorry, I was moving stuff over, and I got stuck staring at what I was doing.
And
I'm just like,
you know,
I'm like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands.
the future's, I think, bright regardless because of these young guys. And I firmly believe in this trio of young guys, Campbell, Mayer, and Anthony. Never mind, there's a couple intriguing guys behind them. But if they want to make a statement, and like you said, Bennett goes from about 45 to 56% chance, and it's fan graphs, it's percent chances, all that. It doesn't really matter too much. But in theory, it's probably in the right ballpark. You say without Bregman, this team's going to be battling for a playoff spot, and with Bregman, they should be on the inside looking out of a playoff spot type of thing. So we're saying, maybe they're the third wild card spot or maybe they're the first wild card spot type of team. Obviously, I mean, I guess the division's in play if they get someone like Bregman, but theoretically that will be tough with New York in Baltimore in play. But they need to just get this settled, obviously. And it's not so much on him, but I'm just getting sick and tired of this whole Bregman talk.
They need to pick a lane, is what it feels like as a fan, right? Is like, as you said, I have full faith in the big three, the trio, whatever you want to call them, and Campbell and Meyer and Anthony. And if that's the path you want to take, then just say that. People will be pissed off, people will be upset, but if it works out, then you were right. If you keep telling people that we believe in the kids and we also want to buy, then you have to continue to buy while waiting, for these guys to come up. It feels like they're stuck in this middling, place where they don't know which one they believe in fully. Therefore, they can't speak to either one.
Yeah,
and that's where the frustration comes from.
Ownership doesn't want to admit anything. I mean, we can go back from 2020 when they hire Chaim Bloom, and everybody knows that this roster's in shambles and it's a disaster, and they need to rebuild and they need to unload these big contracts. And they wouldn't admit that they needed to rebuild, and everybody knew that that's what they were doing. But then for 2, 3, 4 years under Chaim Bloom, it was like, oh, we're going to spend every offseason, and then they don't spend because everybody knows, looking back at it now, that they viewed it as a rebuild, but they wouldn't say that. So I don't expect them to come out and say it now.
Yeah, Chaim Bloom in 2022 at the same winter weekend I was talking about, he was in front of the fans saying, this roster wasn't built to last, even with Mookie Betts. We don't want to be one of these teams that is, spent the last half decade rebuilding. Well, guess what, Chaim and now Craig and everyone else, you spent 6 years and we're basically in the same position we were in before, except for maybe this year it's a little better and we can begin to see the light at the end of the tunnel with the kids coming up, and you finally made a big move and got Crochet. But it's been exactly what Chaim Bloom didn't or said wasn't going to happen has now happened. And that, again, it's as you said, it's the lack of just ownership of what's happening, lack of transparency isn't a word, Zach. Lack of transparency in terms of what their actual plan is, what their actual, view and goal for this team is to be. And it's just a fear of bad PR that leads them to say these things, which ends up coming back to bite them in the ass and gives them the bad PR that they so fear. It's just this.
Yeah. Well, the good thing for Henry is bad PR doesn't matter if you don't have to face the media.
Right.
That's a very good point too.
If you don't have to face the media, it doesn't matter if
that's
the
what's driven him away.
He just rolls out his punching bag wrapped in Sam Kennedy skin.
Yeah, I mean, literally.
Yeah.
And that's obviously part of it. You guys mentioned the disconnect between Kennedy. It seems from what it's been told to us, Cora and Kennedy want Bregman, and then Breslow has been hesitant, and Henry and Warner hesitant. In the comment that kind of drove me nuts the other day was Henry's weary about handing out a long-term deal for Bregman. I'm like, well, if you're wary about handing out long-term deals to batters and you're wary about handing out long-term deals to pitchers, you're not just wary of handing out to specific things. You're just wary about handing out long-term deals in general.
Yeah.
Let's just call that for what it is.
Yes.
But in this scenario, you may not have to anymore. The fact of the matter is if Bregman was getting the offers that he wanted, or even close to it, he would have signed by now. My guess is the teams that he wants to be with, whether that is, I think it's Boston, maybe obviously Houston would be in consideration, and maybe Detroit. But I think it's really Boston or Houston for him, what he wants. Not the only option, what he wants. And I just think both of them are not where he wants offer-wise, though. And so he's been holding out, trying to get, more interest, trying to brew up a conversation. And Boris is doing his Boris magic, which could end up backfiring like it did last year with Montgomery.
I mean, at this point, it looks like it is backfiring at this point.
Yeah, and
because teams aren't going to roll out of bed and go, "Oh yeah, sure, here you go. Here's a 6-year, $190 million contract." Like they're not going to roll out of bed tomorrow and do that when it hasn't.
Like 2 weeks before spring training, 3 weeks before spring training starts. That's just usually not how it works. So the closer you get to spring training, the tougher it is to get these type of deals done. So if you're in Breslow's camp, you're sitting here saying, maybe we should risk it. Maybe they probably have a good idea if that's where he wants to be. If they're saying to themselves, we know he wants to be here, and he's just trying to squeeze us for more money. On one hand, you could say just give him it and get him here. On the other hand, it's if you play it right, you could get him in on the deal that you like. But anyways, ultimately, I think no, I don't even know where he ends up at this point. I really have a hard time predicting. I'm still not very confident in Boston, but I don't know if I see Detroit any.
Uh-oh. I think I'm not up in Matt, but I have more of a faith in him going to Detroit at this point than I do anywhere else, and that's really strictly because of the AJ Hinch connection. And the fact that Detroit, for whatever reason, for the past couple of years, they've come out of the woodwork, it feels like, with just these random contracts that are being given out. I don't know about you guys, but I did not see them doling out 180 million to Javi Baez a couple of years ago. It feels like they've just kind of had a couple of random contracts where they just give out a bunch of money to a guy who's had success in the past, like a Jack Flaherty, for example, or
that Baez contract is so bad.
Such a bad contract.
Bad.
Even when they signed it, everyone's like, "What are you guys doing?"
He's so bad at baseball. He was good. I loved him in Chicago. He is going to say his so bad now.
Incredible. But yeah, so I to your point, man, I kind of see him, if not Boston, because I do agree. I think when it boils down, we need to kind of think it all the way through. It feels like he does want Boston. I just don't know that Boston wants him more than a Detroit, for example. And I think he's going to wait it out. Boston's not going to give him what he wants, and Detroit is going to get stupid and give him 5 for 30. Or
Detroit could be the middle ground. I think Toronto's offering them the most money. And he looks at Toronto and he says, A, do I want to live in fucking Canada?
No.
The answer is no. B, do I want to pay stupid high taxes? The answer is no. And C, do I want to go to a team that's on the brink of just completely crumbling next offseason?
No.
The answer is no.
No.
And so he looks at this and says, all right, I could sign a 6-year deal in Toronto and we'll have we'll be a moderate contender this year. But then after this shit could hit the bed and Bo Bichette could be gone and Vladdy Jr. could be gone. And their rotation is starting to fall off the rails as well. And you look at it, you could be like, all right, well, now I'm just trapped for the rest of my career in Toronto because no one's probably going to want my contract and Toronto's just going to have to eat it. And I'm going to spend my rest of my career being miserable in fucking Canada.
Yeah.
And so I think my bet on it is he does not end up in Toronto. Gun to my head, man, right now, I would just say my gut says he ends up back in Houston. But
yeah,
I'm slightly more confident that Boston has a chance than I did like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think the only reason I'm not Houston is because the comments today. But if you asked me yesterday, I probably would have said Houston.
Yeah. And especially where, what was it, a week ago, there were talks that Houston had kind of come back to the table and said that they were willing to, and this may have been even longer ago than just a week, but they said that there was a rumor that they were possibly willing to honor their original offer, which I think was 6 and 156.
Mm-hmm.
But then a couple of days went by and there was no news of a signing. And in my head, I'm thinking, if he really has that deal on the table still, there's no reason why he wouldn't be signing it.
Yeah, that's a no-brainer deal for him at this point.
Yeah, like at this point, like that's the best he would ever get. So, I mean, yes, Houston. Zach brought up a good point, Matt, while you were kind of rebooting there, was and I hadn't even factored this in, was the fact that his former manager is the manager in Detroit, which was a valid reason to think Detroit.
Correct.
That hadn't really factored into my thought process. I was just going off a gut feeling of, more like Detroit has this, affinity for just random contracts that you would never expect them to offer.
Yeah.
And
that being said, in terms of managers, I think Core is more attracted to him than Hinch.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying he's got the AJ.
Core is much cuter.
I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
That's what you're into, right?
I was
waiting for the response there.
It was completely caught me off guard. I was like, I got nothing for this one.
All right. Let's get off the Bregman topic. Let's transition to some Patriots, and the opening conversation will be Josh McDaniels. So conversations broke out today. Greg Bedard's been talking a lot about it. First of all, supposedly it was not a forced craft hire, according to Greg Bedard. It had been something that Vrabel and Josh McDaniels had talked about for months now. And on top of that, Josh McDaniels is brought in, and supposedly he has spent time with numerous college programs, numerous NFL teams, including the Rams and Chiefs, talking with, coaches there. And the description of it is like he worked his ass off to basically try to revamp his offense. And in one of the quotes, I don't know who said it, but like it was like basically like you're going to be shocked when you see like the new style of offense that he brings. Whether that is like a completely different offense, I doubt it. I think he's going to keep his terminology, but I just think that you could see a more modern offense. And yes, when we talked about this, Ben, and I think Zach, you might have been on this episode too. When we talked about like what were the cons of Josh McDaniels, it was that we felt like his scheme was a little bland. And that was kind of the main thing I think we all kind of agreed on was like one of the more cons of the idea of signing him. So if he has a new offense, I mean, in your opinion, guys, do you see this as like a new glimpse of hope and optimism in this hire?
I do.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about, I think I was on the same podcast you're talking about 2 weeks ago, last week, whenever it was. And I basically said the same thing. Like it sounds like from everything that we've been reading about and hearing about on the news, Twitter, media, whatever, is that he spent time in the college ranks, time in these new updated sort of new school offenses, trying to revamp his scheme, trying to, get more modern and not dumb it down, but make it more digestible for, new young players coming out of college. Because that was always another knock on him, was that it was impossible for some of these young receivers to fully grasp and understand. So no, I do view it as a major positive, especially the more that comes out about it not being a forced hire from Kraft, and that, Vrabel and McDaniels actually had, a connection and wanted this to work out. So yeah, and I think I read somewhere that like Doug Marrone will be the offensive line coach and has very similar terminology to McDaniels and very similar to what May had last year. So have to read more into that. But like, if
Yeah.
that's the case, then
Bernardo also said today, I think it was him, that he thinks that Scar could be coming on at least in the offseason to help out. In that he's very close with Josh and he's close with Marone, and then he might be coming on to help Marone transition into Josh's terminology as well.
Love that even more. So yeah, no, I'm excited. I was excited when he was signed. And really not the only reason, but one of the reasons I was excited was that like he's not going to leave. It isn't one of those situations where like he's going to be a Ben Johnson, for example, and have a bunch of success for 2 years and then dip. He's here for the foreseeable future. So to
bare
imagine,
minimum 3 years.
Bare
minimum 3 years.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably 5 to 7.
Exactly. So give Drake May a chance to learn a system, get comfortable with it, be able to teach other people as they come in. And then, the more that comes out that Josh has actually been, as I mentioned, making it more easy to understand, more modern, right? Hopefully no more draws on 3rd and 8 and no more screens on 3rd and 18. Hopefully we can get some, actual plays, but no, I'm excited. And then again, the more that I hear about it, that he's been like new schooling.
Josh should just do some stupid play call on the first play of week 1.
Just do the halfback pass.
Just some absurd, unique play call just on the first play of the year.
Flea flicker to Chris Hogan.
Yeah, Chris Hogan comes out from the sideline.
All AFC Championship game 2018. Yeah, as far as Josh goes, it's nice to hear that things seem to be more modernized and simplified. That was always, I don't want to say always, but that was a pretty frequent complaint of players, was the complexity of the playbook. I think it speaks volumes to certain players. Guys like Brady, who never really seemed to miss a step with that playbook, because you saw how much guys struggled with it. And it wasn't just young guys. Obviously rookies are going to have a tougher time adapting, especially during the second stint with the Patriots. You kind of started to see a transition into a different game in college than what it had been 20 years ago. And guys come in, and Josh has this complicated system, and guys who have all this talent are going like, I have no idea what the hell I'm looking at. I don't know what the calls are. Like, these are so complicated. It's funny. Like, I listened to little audio clips of, and I forget who they had on. It was Drew Brees was on someone's show, and he was breaking down a play call and how obviously, not this is any secret, but how basically was breaking down how each part of the play call speaks to a specific personnel group. If X does this, that's the wide receivers cue, certain wide receivers cue to know, but the play call is like 10 seconds long in some cases, and it's super complicated. So it's nice to know that there's guys that are hopefully not going to be able to struggle to pick up this offense. Not to say that guys like Baker and Polk are elite otherworldly talents, but obviously they struggled in the offense last year. So hopefully with a simple creative offense out of Josh, that's definitely helpful, moving forward, especially because, you could make an argument that wide receiver is a number 1 or a number 2 need on this team. And I think we'll see that play out in free agency. They're linked to T. Higgins pretty hard. And if obviously those interviews are going to take place, and he's going to want to know, like, well, what's the offense I'm walking into? That's going to be a question from his agent, his camp, is what am I doing? Like, history says, and people are going to be in T. Higgins' ear, because T. Higgins is what? Is this 4th year? He just completed his 4th year. No, 5th year, because they tagged him.
Yeah.
So he just completed his 5th year in the NFL, and for all intents and purposes, Josh McDaniels has been mildly irrelevant over over his career. So people are going to be in his ear and be like, well, this is what Josh is like as the offensive coordinator. It can be complicated. So he's going to want to know, like, what's the system I'm going to run into? And hopefully we can see the answers to that manifest itself in free agency, because I think if the Patriots get T. Higgins for a legitimate offer, I think that speaks volumes to Josh being able to be like, the system's going to work here. We got a good young quarterback. It's going to be simpler, creative, effective. We're going to score a ton of points. And if he can sell somebody like T. Higgins, who's going to want money, T. Higgins is going to want top tier dollars, and he's going to want to play on a team where he can be successful. He already
4
called
years, 130, baby.
It's probably what it's going to take. He already called Joe Burrow the best quarterback in the NFL. He's going to want somebody who has that prolific upside. And I'm not saying that Drake May is Joe Burrow. He's not there yet, but you can see it.
Yeah, he's better.
The ceiling. He's
better.
He's definitely not. But so
give me 24 months.
I mean, are you coaching him? Might take like 24 years.
Hopefully Jamar Chase can do some selling to him, man. Because
36 months if I'm coaching him.
Okay, but
Drake May and Jamar Chase are getting real tight at the Pro Bowl.
Yeah, so it's nice to know that. And I'm going to speak to kind of the entire operation. It feels way more put together than it did a year ago. Like last year, it was so disjointed where we were coming off, and I know that it happened early in the offseason for the Pats, but so at this point a year ago, we had been talking about it, but we were on the heels of basically being forced into Gerard Mayo, and not that obviously that was a Kraft decision. He wrote it into his contract, but we were forced into having Gerard Mayo. We were like, okay, like we'll give him a shot, but we don't really know. And then, you had Alex Van Pelt, who, call it what you want, he was their 12th hire. He was their 12th interview. He was the last guy on the list. So people were turning down positions. You had a guy who would, he was the offensive coordinator, but he didn't call plays before. So you're like, okay, what do we have? We had a rookie defensive coordinator who was a pretty good coach for the defensive line. So I don't think we had issues there. But then there were all these questions where it's like, okay, well, coaches don't want to come here because there's too many question marks on the coaching staff. And it feels like this year it's the polar opposite. Thomas Brown is here. If I'm not mistaken, was he the interim head coach in Chicago?
It was interim head coach, passing game coordinator for
yeah.
Bears.
So obviously you've got experience there. McDaniels, obviously. It feels like the whole operation is way more put together and organized.
They got Todd Downing now, who was a 2-time former OC, 27 years coaching.
Yeah, 2021, 2022 under Vrabel, which is probably the light at the end of the tunnel because he was the quarterback's coach in New York last year. And that was obviously a disaster. The Jets specifically. I mean, both New York teams were a disaster, but
anything involving Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets are a disaster. So
that is correct. But it's nice to know that it feels more put together. And I think it speaks volumes to Josh's commitment to the organization that he's willing to adapt and change. I think he's going to be 50 this year. So he's not young, but he's not old by any stretch of the imagination. So
50?
Yeah, pretty sure he's going to be 50 this year.
Jesus Christ, time has gone by.
I mean, this is the AARP episode. You act like he's dying tomorrow.
No, I know. I just kind of remember him being like in your mind, he's like this 37-year-old younger coach. No, he'll be 49 in April. You fucking liar.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was off by a year.
You silly goose.
Yeah, that's me. But in any case, digressing here.
I got it in there.
Yeah, you did. Son of a bitch.
Only took 65 episodes.
Yeah, it did. Only took 65. Hopefully it'll take another 65 before we hear that again. But the nice thing about Josh is, again, 48. He'll be 49 this year. Knowing that he probably doesn't have another, at least in the immediate future, he's not going to be a head coach anywhere. So he's dedicated to the organization. He's willing to adapt and change so that the kids coming out in the draft he's at least familiar with more modern collegiate offensive styles that he can implement into his own offensive scheme. So there's definitely a lot more hope going into this offseason. The new league year starts in third 28, like 38 days, 40 days, something like that. I'm sure Matt's gonna fact check me on that one and tell me that it's like 41 days and 6 hours.
I don't even know the exact date that it is. All
I
I
know-
know is it's not here soon enough.
No, it's like the second. It's like the second week of March. It's like the 13th or
Yeah, something like
14th or
that.
something like that.
So usually March 14th.
So it's nice going into the this particular league year in the off season. There's definitely a different feel of hope when it comes to this team.
All right, next question for you boys. What would it? I know Ben's answer, and I fucking hate it already. But Zach, what would it take for you to trade Joe Milton?
Oh,
I mean, if it's anything below a fifth, I'm taking it. Anything below a fourth, I'm driving him to the airport. Like not a whole lot, to be honest with you. If somebody wants to, throw the kitchen sink at us because of one game, I'm all for it. Like, yeah, he was good. That one game, he took us out of the first overall pick. Thanks for that. And he was good in college. Like, let the Giants throw us a third round pick.
third overall. Holy
third overall would be great. That'd just be us. We're fourth, whatever we are.
Yeah.
Let the Giants throw us a third round pick. Let Cleveland throw us, fourth and something. Like, it won't take much.
Yeah. It's so I don't know if you said. Did you see Matt's poll on Twitter or X about
I
Milton?
didn't see the results, but I did see it. Yeah.
What did you vote? Did you vote yes or no?
This was like the would you trade for the 71st overall?
Yeah. Would you trade him to the Saints for the 71st overall?
Oh, dude, I broke my phone screen. I hit yes so fast.
It's funny. I wrote yes after I replied and said anybody who votes no on this poll is a moron.
I saw that too.
And then I went and looked, and at the time that I voted, it was like 30% said no, they wouldn't trade him for the 71st overall pick. Matt, what were the results of the poll? Do you remember?
Well, it's still going, but it was it was roughly around 70% last time I looked.
Like, I'd love to know if anybody's listening that is in the 30% that they would not trade Joe Milton for a.
Oh, it's a nice 69%. Yes.
Oh.
Matt, you're feisty.
nice.
You're feisty. Jay. You calm down over there.
Nice.
Lonnie's been drinking.
He has. I forgot. Yeah, Matt's on the sauce. In a double wide stemless wine glass. I don't know if anybody's listening, but if you're in that 30%, I'd love to understand why. Because I would do it in a heartbeat. I would do it for a fourth round.
The most obvious answer could possibly be is they believe in him.
Okay, but I mean,
if you believe in the guy, he's going to be good.
But who cares how good he is? He has no future here unless Drake May gets injured. So it doesn't matter if you have the next Steve
But
Young
injured twice this year.
I mean,
That's true.
not really. Like, yes, but no.
Yes, really. He missed a game and a half first, and then he missed another half, 3/4 of the game.
Yeah, well, overblown. But anyway, so unless you think that Joe Milton is going to supplant Drake May as the starter, you trade him unless the best offer you're getting is like a 6th round draft pick.
No.
Yeah.
Dude, if someone comes and offers you like a mid-5th, you don't trade him.
I'd ship him out of town before they stopped asking the question.
That's so ridiculous.
He has no future, and if somebody's dumb enough to be like,
it doesn't matter. A cheap, solid backup alone is worth a 5th round pick.
Okay, so go draft somebody,
or just keep the guy you got.
or you know what, you could go sign the veteran guy like Joe Flacco, who is perfect for a Drake May, because here's the thing, right? If a team is dumb enough to go, you know what, that Joe Milton guy, he played really well in a game that meant absolutely nothing to the team that he played against. Let's go offer a 4th round draft pick to go get him. Like,
Yeah.
I would go with Zach to pick him up and drive him to the airport for a 4th round draft pick.
I put
Somebody
this
else
way:
be stupid and overpay. Don't
if a 4th round pick would get him, I would guarantee you a team offers that in trades for him. The reason why I don't think that a 4th round pick gets him is because a 4th round pick won't get him. I think that New England firmly looks at this situation and say, like, unless you are in the top 100 picks, I'd rather keep him. Like, I'd rather keep what someone as a good backup. You can always trade him next year. Like, it's not like he has got one more year left. You can always trade him next offseason. You have 3 more years of control. Like, unless you make it a pick that is, like, really worth the while, not like some dart throw 5th round pick or, like, late 4th. I need something that, like, has actual value to the situation.
Okay, but let me ask you this question. Why? What did Joe Milton show you that goes, I'm not trading him unless I get a premium day 2 draft pick?
I mean, he showed enough to say that he can be at minimum a solid backup on dirt cheap money with 3 years of control.
Okay, based on what? He played 1 game against a team that was trying to lose.
Still a bunch of young.
The Browns are going to be a stupid team or some other one.
The Bills' backup players are still more talented than any college team in America.
Okay, but I'm not talking about their talent. They weren't calling the game to win the game.
It goes beyond that, though. Like, his biggest issues offensively was his accuracy, and his accuracy for the most part. He was like very accurate in week 18.
Yes, I could have completed 70% of my throws on that day.
Fuck off! Fuck off! No, you could not.
Yeah,
dude,
he made this team look competent.
He made like some impressive throws, and if you're a team like
his arm talent was, but his arm talent was the biggest compliment he had in his draft report was that he could throw the ball.
His arm strength.
Yeah,
his arm strength was not arm talent, because arm talent you need to be able to throw it accurately.
And that was
do that for he couldn't hit a fucking elephant running across the field 30 yards away. In college.
You couldn't do that.
I'm not in the NFL. 30 yards, yes, I could.
My
50 yards, no, I wouldn't reach.
I think you're putting too much stock into, well, it's an NFL caliber team. It means he did well. It's like, no, they weren't. They played zone the entire game because they weren't trying to win. They put no pressure on the quarterback. They played zone, and they basically called 7 defensive plays the entire game. Anybody could have done what he.
The answer goes to this.
You're wrong.
If you're a team like the Saints, what did you just say? Don't
I said the answer is you're wrong. Hey, respect your elders on AARP Day.
If you're a team like the Saints or like the Seahawks, and you're outside the top, 4 or 3, I guess, you're not going to get, say, Ward or Sanders, and you're looking at this situation where you really don't have a quarterback or like an obvious answer, and you look at what Milton did, and yes, he was a 6th round pick last year, but his stock is undoubtedly higher than what it was at this time last year. Like, no doubt in my mind. So if you're a team that's like, all right, I have this, 100th overall pick, we could use it on, I think it's Dylan Gabriel or like Slough, like the guy from like Louisville, or just some like dart throw pick. I would much rather take a shot on Joe Milton than take a shot at like one of these 4th round QBs after what I saw even in a meaningless Week 18 game.
100%. It's kind of the same, and it's not going to be as apples to apples now because I'm pretty sure Sam Darnold's not coming back to Minnesota, but let's just pretend that Minnesota is still thinking about trading JJ McCarthy. Do you think teams would offer up or be more willing to offer up a 4th for a JJ who has never played a game in his life and has knee issues, or a Joe Milton who yes, he did play against third
Well,
stringers.
JJ was so much
But-
high. I mean, JJ on the market right now would. I mean, if I was the Giants, I would offer the 3rd overall pick for JJ McCarthy.
Would you?
I mean,
I
JJ
mean,
McCarthy
he was the 11th.
He was the 11th
He was
pick.
the 11th
but
pick last year, and like theoretically, like if you match him up against these quarterback class, like he might be
he's
QB1.
good. I would have a harder time giving up a 3rd overall for him, especially just because of his injury history, knees, and then the fact that you haven't seen him play in the NFL. I mean, that just
Yeah, I mean, well, you haven't
I think of Joe
seen
Milton more than I
Sanders
ever
or
thought I would ever
Cam
need to,
Ward
but-
play in the NFL.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I
mean, it really depends on how I view the top 2 quarterbacks, but like, I could see. Let me just. Let's see.
I spilled the wine.
So
It's like if we're trying to pour it left-handed.
What color's your carpet? Hope it's dark.
yeah,
No,
right.
it just spilled on a piece of paper. It's all right.
Okay. All right. So say you're like the LA Rams, a team that is probably in a rebuild. Like, would you trade the 26th overall pick for JJ McCarthy?
They love giving up 1st-round picks. Of course they would.
I mean, I would easily, yeah. Like you
no-
said, if I'm the Giants, I would absolutely consider the 3rd overall pick for McCarthy.
You see, I don't know if I would do the 3rd if I'm the
Yeah,
Giants.
third-
I would
mean,
do.
Who would you put it this way? Who would you rather? Sanders or JJ McCarthy?
I mean, that's tough. Me, I'd probably say Shedeur Sanders.
I would probably have to agree. I wasn't
Yeah,
super high on JJ last year. I thought he was
Yeah, I wasn't high on
I thought he
JJ
was
last
day
year.
2, but
And I think the skill set of Sanders is much more conducive to a modern NFL offense than a JJ McCarthy.
yeah. I think if you're going to be
I would lean JJ, but basically what I'm saying is like the conversation's right there. Sanders is projected to be like the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, maybe like 5th at the latest or 6th at the latest, a top 6 pick, and it's a conversation of who you rather between the two.
Right, but if you're the
agree.
Giants, right? Okay, say you're the Giants and you don't need to give up a 1st-round pick. You can trade what's their 2nd-round pick, like 36.
Oh, I mean, obviously you're not just like voluntarily giving it up.
No, but if Minnesota's like, oh, we'll take a 2nd-round pick, I would trade 34 for JJ McCarthy in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Certainly.
But like, I mean, to bring it back to Joe Milton, I would much rather trade for JJ than Milton.
Oh,
that's not-
I-
like, that's-
I- well,
that's-
depends on the cost, but yeah, I mean, 1 for 1, yeah, I would certainly recommend. much rather
Sure,
trade for
but
JJ.
like, I'd rather give up a late 1st, early 2nd for JJ than give up a 5th for Joe Milton.
In theory, yeah, because
Theory.
I mean, I view JJ's value higher than the late 1st.
Right.
I mean, I don't think he's getting traded regardless, but like,
not now.
If I was a team like the Saints, the Seahawks, any team that still needs a QB of the future, I would offer my 1st-round pick really for JJ. Like other than maybe like the Titans and the Giants would be in consideration. Like every other team, if I'm a QB team, I'm offering it for JJ, my 1st-round pick. Whether that's the Raiders at 6, the Saints at 9, Seahawks at 18. I'm offering that for JJ. But to go back to Milton,
I know.
to go back to Milton a little bit. I mean, like if you're like the Saints, like I said, like the Saints are. God, I hope they just finally fucking rebuild, dude. Like, just rebuild. Stop trying to, scrape together a 500 season. It's ridiculous. But if I'm like the Saints or I'm the Seahawks, and I look at Seattle and I'm like, all right, like what is their answer at QB? And it's like, are we gonna run it back with Geno Smith?
Is Geno still under contract?
Technically, yes, but it's like a $45 million cap hit, and they could escape it and then have like, I don't know, like $10 million in dead cap. Like it's a very escapable contract. And so if you're looking at like a Seattle team where it's like, all right, like I can go and like, what are we doing at quarterback? In theory, you could keep Geno Smith and still trade the third for Joe Milton and let the winner take. And you could always, like, in theory, cut Geno down the road if you need to. Or you could, trade or rework a deal for Geno to keep him around for a couple of years.
Right.
And bring Milton in and say the best man will win it. Like, obviously they're not in a real spot to take a quarterback in the first round, unless you're going to say maybe they're going to take a shot at Dart. Like, I think Dart's going to end up a top 50 pick. So, like, maybe they take a shot at Dart in, like, round 2 or something like that. But after Sanders, Ward, and Dart, like, there's no one that's, like, screaming on draft boards saying, hey, draft me. Don't get me wrong. I like some of these guys as day 3 targets. But
to bring this back, aren't you glad the Patriots took Drake May 3rd overall last year and not Marvin Harrison Jr. and are going into this draft class being like, WTF are we going to do at quarterback because you're not getting one of the top 2?
Yeah, they would probably have the number 1 overall pick regardless if they stuck with whoever they had. But I see your point, and I'm much happier they took Drake May instead of, someone else. But but I think that's, Matt, to your point of it being a weaker class, and really nobody after Dart is in the top 50 or whatever, screams that some team is going to get desperate. Some team is going to miss out on all 3 of those or 4 of those names, whatever you said, and someone's going to offer up a 4th. Someone's going to offer up a late 3rd, whatever. Someone's going to get dumb and offer up way more than they should for Joe Milton, just because they missed out, because they feel they need to have a quarterback and fill that need. So yeah, I'm taking whatever I can get outside of above a 6th, but if it's a 4th or below.
If I'm Seattle and I'm like the 82nd pick gets me Joe Milton, I'm absolutely considering that. I'm absolutely, like, the worst case scenario, you lost a late day 2 pick.
Mm-hmm.
The best case scenario is you find a potential QB of the future.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, all right, I want to move on and do our bit of a trivia game. So, this is going to be a Ben versus Zach trivia game. The one rule I have a request is hands up. No Googling to try to get answers on this. The rule of the game. So are you ready? Are you ready for this? The rules of the game is simple. You're going to have a QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and a tight end.
Can I write this down? I'm old.
Sure, if you want. Just don't.
What is it again? What is it again? I already forgot. QB, 2 running backs.
So is this like a standard fantasy football lineup?
I mean, I just a QB, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers.
Yep.
And 1 tight end.
Okay.
No defense or flex.
No. Okay. The rule of this, or the object of this, is to take the yards. So QB will obviously be passing, running back will obviously be rushing, and wide receiver and tight end will obviously be receiving.
So hold on, is rushing no reception yards? It's not scrimmage yards.
Just rushing yards.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. I'll do a guess of which one of you goes first, but you're going to give me a name, and I am going to take that player's highest career yardage in one season, their highest yardage of the career in one individual season, and whoever ends up with the most total yards at the end wins.
Is this anybody in history or active right now?
Anybody in history.
Okay.
All right. This will be
anybody
fun.
in history. All right. So, all right, Zach, I'm thinking a number 1 or 2.
We go 1.
All right, it was 2. So, Ben, do you want to go first or second? So it's a snake draft. So you get the 2nd and 3rd pick. he gets the first, and he would get the first and fourth if you went second.
Okay, and so are we gonna go? So, and I'm basically drafting a player, and I can go in any order.
Yep, you could do any order of like you could go wide receiver first, and then QB, and then wide receiver, and then tight end.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll try to do this, and I'll try to quickly Google their career high in a single season. But whoever ends up with the highest total yardage will be the winner. So, do you want first or second pick?
I'll take second.
Second.
All right, Zach, you can start us up here.
All right. Well, give me QB, Brady.
All right, so Brady's stats. Let's see what is his career high in stats in a season.
Oh, I'm an
It
idiot.
is
Career totals.
5,316. 5,316 is his passing yards. Benny Ball Games, you are up next.
QB
You
Peyton
get
Manning.
2 picks. All right, Peyton Manning stats. Let's see this. His career high. Remember, no Googling or anything like that. His career high is 5477.
Mm-hmm.
5477.
Okay, next player, I will go with. Calvin Johnson.
Ooh, all right.
Pick.
1 second.
What? In case there's a confusion, it's wide receiver, Detroit Lions. In case
Is there
it's
another
like,
Calvin Johnson?
I don't know, but I just anytime I think about like I don't know why it's popped into my head. Somebody made this was years ago. It was before Giancarlo Stanton changed his name to Giancarlo, and in a fantasy baseball draft, he drafted Mike Stanton, the pitcher who had retired like 3 weeks before their fantasy draft. So I just need to clarify that it's Calvin Johnson, the wide receiver, in case there's like.
All right, his is 1964.
So if I pick
All
Adrian
right.
Peterson, Bears, that's a bad choice. There's Adrian Peterson for the Bears too. We pick Calvin just then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
you,
now
get,
Zach,
you get 2
Zach-
picks.
yeah.
You have 2
Okay.
picks back to back. Okay. I'm pretty sure Cooper Kupp has the record. I'm gonna go Cooper Kupp.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Alright.
Is who had the most single season? I thought it was Calvin Johnson. I was trying to.
I know
remember
Calvin had it for a while, but I'm pretty sure Cooper beat it or broke it.
His is
What year?
1947.
What was Calvin's?
1964.
Okay.
All right, you got another one.
Give me LaShawn McCoy, running back.
Oh, LaShawn McCoy. His career high is 1607. McCoy. 1607. All right, Benny Ball Game. You got 2 picks again.
Okay, real quick. What was I'm just so I can write the numbers down. What was Peyton's passing yards?
5477.
77. Okay. Running back Emmitt Smith.
Good pick. Good pick. His career high is 1773. I think that is 1773.
Okay. I'm gonna go second running back. I'm blanking on the guy's name. I can see him in my head. I gotta think about this for a second. I'm gonna switch it up. Wide receiver Jerry Rice.
All right, Jerry Rice. You got to. The problem is now you get the window for Zach to steal.
I know.
Also,
So Rice's career high is 1848. 1848.
I'm up now.
All right. Yep, you got a running back, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end left.
I'm kicking myself for the McCoy pick because I literally said this guy's name before, but give me, or actually, no, I know the leader. Give me Eric Dickerson.
I was trying to figure out if it was him, and I was in my head. I'm like, I know it's not Tony Dorsett, but that name kept creeping into my head. Eric Dickerson's almost at 2,000 yards.
He is over 2,000 yards.
He has the record for most in a season.
Yeah.
Dickerson is at 2105. All right, so now you got 2 wide receivers and a tight end, Zach.
And you just picked Jerry Rice already?
Yeah.
All right. I think he had 18. Give me Antonio Brown.
Ooh, good one. I like that.
Brown. Let's see. Antonio Brown's top is 1834.
That's a good one.
Can't believe I didn't pick it. Something else for running back.
So, Ben, you're up. You have a running back, a wide receiver, and a tight end.
All right. Tight end. Give me. I gotta think about this one for a second. So I'm gonna go back to the running back well. The question is, do I take the risk or do I go for the guy that I know?
Yeah, I'll wait until until this is over.
Give me Saquon Barkley.
Okay, all right. That was like one of the obvious ones. I was like, because it's so recent.
Yeah.
The other option was Adrian Peterson.
That's what I was saying. I said the guy's name for the Bears, and I didn't even pick him. Like, what an idiot.
Yeah. So Saquon's at 2,005 yards. Adrian and Peterson had 2,097 yards.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that was one. So you got one more. You got a wide receiver and a tight end.
Okay. What was Saquon? 2005?
2005. Yep.
I'm going to go wide receiver. Torn between 2 guys. Give me Julio Jones.
Julio Jones. His career high is 1871.
Oh, wow. More than Jerry? That's surprising.
1871 and back in 2015. 137 catches.
How many targets? Had to have been like 180.
200 probably.
He had 203.
Holy Jesus. And 2015
Nobody else
was
on that team.
2015, 203 targets, 871 yards, 8 touchdowns.
I don't know, not a great touchdown number. What's 203 divided by 16?
I don't know.
I just want to know what his per game average was.
12.687.
12 targets. 12. So half.
12.7.
Half. So roughly half to between 40 and 50% of the quarterback's throws went to Julio Jones. That's crazy. All right.
Yeah. All right. So Zach, you have one wide receiver and one tight end, and then Ben gets the final tight end.
All right. Let me go Randy for receiver.
Moss.
That's a great pick.
Stats. His career high. I mean, it's good. It's not as high as I would have thought, but it's good. 1632.
Yeah, I thought he had 17 at one point, but and then I have tight end. This one I don't know.
Good Lord, dude. When he was from 98 when he broke out to 03, he went 13-13, 14-13, 14-37, 12-33, 13-47, and 16-32.
He was unbelievable, man.
What how many yards did he have in 07?
1,400 something.
1493.
Okay. That was the touchdown record.
Yeah. All right, so Zach, finish us off with tight end.
I don't know who has the record. I know who has the record.
I feel like there's like 7 options of like who could have the most.
Kind of went in between. I mean, just give me Gronk. I don't know.
That's the safe pick.
Yes. I know it's 2011.
I don't know what his is 2011, and it was 13-27.
27.
Yeah, 13-27. Motherfucker, I wrote that under Ben. All right, Ben, we finish us off here.
I'll go with my competitive side says I want to play it safe because I don't want to lose. I'll go Kelsey.
Mm.
All right, that is 14-16.
Oh wow! So out of curiosity, I wonder who holds it. I was gonna go with my other option was Tony Gonzalez.
He was my other option too.
I'm looking at his right now. His highest was 12:58.
Okay.
So Kelsey was what? 14-16?
Does Kelsey have the record then?
Yeah, it's 14-16. Oh, wow. Kittle's at 13-77. Then it's Mark Andrews at 13-61. And then Gronk.
Oh wow.
Mark Andrews.
All right. So now we gotta add these up. Are you guys gonna add them up, or do you want me to?
Apparently my phone isn't on me, so I don't have a calculator next to me.
All right. So I'll add up Ben's first.
And I can do the numbers just to make sure that if you want me to like check your math.
All right. So just do yours just in case. All right. So Ben's total, if I did this right, was 16,354.
16,354.
Yeah.
That's what I got.
Zach, let's see.
That McCoy pick might screw me at the end.
I was just about to say the McCoy pick might be your downfall.
Yeah. I thought he had like 18 at some point, but
So I wavered with picking with Barkley because I know that he was over 2,000, but in my head I'm like, were they talking scrimmage or rushing yards?
yeah.
Because I don't think he came. I think he was pretty far behind the total yards.
Yeah. I mean, there's 5 guys to pick from in the running backs who have over 2K, and
All right, we have a winner, and the winner of Trivia Pursuit Football, our Raise the Banner edition, is our first trivia is
The inaugural.
Benny Ballgame Earth with 16,354. Zach Brewitt finished with 15,768.
so it was the LeSean McCoy pick. That's
what was
so the
LeSean?
difference was
What was LeSean McCoy's number?
1,600.
1607.
And if I went with my original pick, it would have been
Let's
AP.
see.
Who had 2109.
68. So you were 586 off. So AP was at 2197
mm-hmm.
minus 1607. 490 off. So you
Okay.
still would have lost
Still
even with
lost.
AP, but just barely. That
Okay.
makes you feel a little bit better.
I feel a little bit better about
Makes you
that,
feel-
but still.
All right. Well, week 1 goes to Benny Ballgame. That was a good matchup. I'll have to think of another one for next week.
That was fun.
Um,
I like that.
Yeah.
Good time.
All right. Let's finish this up with the state your takes.
Oh, shit.
Do you guys have them? I have mine that it was brewing from last week. It's going to be ironic, speaking of the conversation we just had with on here, but you guys ready to go?
No. So Ben, or you guys, you can go first. I forgot all
I'll
about
start us off.
Okay.
My state your take of episode AARP 65 is that the best QB to come out of the 2025 NFL draft class will not be Sanders or Cam Ward. Pretty simple.
You're taking
Nothing much to it.
Are you taking the field, or do you have a name in mind?
I'm more taking the field. I'm a Jackson Dart believer. I like his game. But like I said, they're long shots. I certainly don't like them in terms of like betting on them being great. But there's names like Kyle McCord, who I think is a little decent player. Dylan Gabriel's got some intangibles that you kind of look at that intrigue me. The kid from Louisville, Tyler Slow, I believe is his name.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good arm that I like. I don't know, just something about this class tells me that there's going to be a under the radar guy that no one was really considering to be the top guy from this class that will end up being it. So that's what I'll go with.
Okay.
I have
Where
one
you
now,
going?
but if you want to go Ben first?
All right.
Yeah. So mine, in the spirit of Super Bowl 59, my state your take is that the Philadelphia Eagles will prevent the three-peat, and that they get revenge on the Chiefs from 2 years ago. Another high-scoring, fun game, but Eagles do pull it out in the end, and I'll say they win it 31-30.
All right.
Jalen Hurts MVP.
I just put $5 on the correct score of 27-25 Philly.
Oh boy, 27-25. The payout on that must be astronomical.
Yeah, it's like over $2,000 for a $5 bet. Just hear me out. My theory.
A whole $5.
My
The inside joke is that I shared a similar story with Matt, and he went, "Wow, a whole $5, buddy."
On a bet like that, I just think there's going to be like a scenario, and this always happens in Super Bowls and stuff, where like they go for 2, they don't get it, and it screws up like the whole entire process, or God forbid there's a safety or something like that.
Yeah, sorry,
just
I couldn't find the
came
mute.
back to life.
I couldn't find the mute button fast enough. I was like, "Oh, I'm just going for it."
All right, Zach, finish this off here.
So mine is not necessarily a hot take, not a great one as much as betting $5 on a $2,000 payout. But I think Garrett Crochet signs an extension before opening day. A lot of smoke around that.
I hope so.
Yeah, a lot of smoke around that, right? Kind of the big thing was whoever he signs with, he wanted to make sure he signs an extension. They've already said they talk about it. Just get it done. I don't necessarily think they're going to prioritize the kids over someone like him. So that's what I'm going with.
All right. Yeah, no, I like it. I mean, Kennedy made the reference that they're already talking. Those things are usually stuff that, like, once the offseason really kind of ends, they pick up on those things and try to hammer things out. Right now, they're focused on hopefully signing Alex Bregman. But yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, that'll do it for this week. God, please just let Alex Bregman pick a team so we can stop talking about him every week.
Bonus day your take. Alex Bregman will still be a free agent 1 week from now when we record again.
Screw you. Hopefully, obviously over the next month or two, we're going to be diving deeper into draft talk and stuff like that. It's going to be a lot of repeats on here because obviously that's going to be a main topic. And then hopefully we'll have. I'm going to try to get some Red Sox guys on over the next couple months as well to kick off predictions and stuff like that for the season. And then hopefully the Bruins sell and they scrap this god awful fucking team. And hopefully the Celtics buy another big or something like that at the deadline. That's this weekend. But any final thoughts, boys?
No.
All right. That'll do us for Raise the Banner this week. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
Later, boys.
Good night.